Ideally, we're seeing sunlight throughout the day. Obviously, that's not realistic for most people. So we want to go outside at least 5 minutes at a time, maybe 4 or 5 times a day, and get sunlight. This is especially important at mid-morning, which which is when UVA light first comes from the sun as it gets to the certain angle. I believe it's 10 degrees above the horizon, and you're going to get UVA light. And that signaling from light from UVA tells your body to do lots of different things. One of them is to make serotonin, which is like the feel-good hormone, makes us feel better about life. But how much serotonin you make when you get UVA light in mid-morning is going to dictate how much melatonin you can make later. When you block blue light after sunset, ideally, we're blocking blue light after sunset. So the storage of serotonin, that's going to be converted to melatonin later. So how much serotonin you have will dictate how much you can convert to melatonin. So I tell people like your good night's sleep starts with UVA rise in mid-morning so that you can get the melatonin. And the melatonin, again, is going to help you signal to go to sleep, but then have deep healing sleep as well, which is when the repair happens, when the rejuvenation happens. So, yeah.
Obviously, there's a lot of variables depending on where somebody lives, time of year, but what would be the optimal dose of that UVA light to get the most serotonin, to get the most melatonin later?
Well, again, we're supposed to live outside, so it would be the entire window, right? That would be the optimal amount. But I would say at a bare minimum, 5 minutes, at least give your body the signal that UVA has happened. And I mean, I don't always get out there exactly when UVA rises. Maybe I'll get out there an hour after it, but I try and get it with the window before UVB happens, you know. But I try and get there right at UVA, and it's just going to change throughout the year. It's not always going to be the same time. So, there's apps you can get on your phone, like My Circadian, that will help you track that stuff. And when sunrise is, 'cause that's going to change when UVA is, when UVB is, so you can try and time it to get out there and do that.
For somebody relying on getting light through windows, talk about the difference in quality between that and being outside.
There's a few. One of them is that the windows let in more blue light, so it's almost kind of like having a blue light bulb. Not as bad, but it's still leaning that direction. So we have to think about this as processed light. So it's the same as processed food. When you take a whole food and you concentrate it down to one of its constituents, then it's processed. And we're getting a much higher amount of that without the context of the other nutrients in the food or the other compounds in the food. Same with light. If we have all these different colors and wavelengths of light, and we process it down to one or primarily one, which is like an LED bulb, very high in blue light and very low in the other colors, that's processed light. And so if you filter out, like the windows filter out light, some wavelengths of light from the sun, we're getting more processed light because we're getting higher amounts of, say, blue lights coming more through the windows. But also the windows, modern windows, the double pane windows, they're filtering out UVB. And so there's actually some studies that show that exposure to too much UVA without UVB, it causes the changes in skin cells that lead to skin cancer. And I talk about those studies, that study in the book. So it's really about, like, people talk about skin cancer all the time, and it's just like, do you realize that the studies that show that UVB light causes skin cancer were done on genetically bred mouse that were hairless? And so A, they don't have their hair to protect their skin. That's not normal. And B, they use just UVB light lamps, which UVB never comes on its own. It always comes balanced with all the other colors and wavelengths of light. So that's a totally unnatural experiment. And that's what we're using to say that UVB causes skin cancer. As a matter of fact, you look at studies, and these are just associational studies, but the associational studies show that the people who get more natural sunlight have less skin cancer than the people who don't. And the people who work outdoors get less skin cancer than people who work indoors under artificial light. So huge discrepancies there, and kind of myths about skin cancer. But yeah, one of them is modern windows. They're filtering out wavelengths of light that would make it more balanced. And then people say to me, well, that would mean that an infrared sauna is processed light, and a red light panel is processed light. And you're absolutely right. It's processed light. The reason that these therapies seem so beneficial, or they are beneficial, is because we're so deficient in red and infrared light. So UVB and blue light, that's there's less of that throughout the day. Like the amount of UVB is 0 at sunrise, and blue light spikes, but blue light is only highest at solar noon. So the amount of blue light varies throughout the day, but the red and infrared light is steady all day long. 40 to 50% of the sun's rays are always red and infrared. And if you work indoors and live indoors, you're getting none of that. And it's supposed to be a constant stimulus. So we use these red light panels, we use an infrared sauna. It seems very therapeutic and beneficial. However, if we use them too much, they would become damaging, right? If we sat in front of a red light all day long, it would be like sitting in front of a processed blue light all day long. I think that it would have a negative effect. And if you look at the studies on red light lasers, like low level light therapy, there's a threshold. Like it's a bell curve. It goes up like this. It's beneficial, and then it's not beneficial anymore if you use it too much. And that's exactly what we would see. But it's just hard to overuse those devices because we're so deficient in red and infrared light.
There are different variables, again, like where you're living, time of year, time of day. But talk about exposing ourselves to light in a healthy way. And you've touched on this. I want to make sure we went there. People that are fearing getting outside and getting sunlight because of things like skin cancer or skin damage. But talk about building a solar callus.
Yeah.
And doing this in a healthy way where we're going to get the benefits from that light.
Most people, they wait till it's warm enough and it's the right season. And even then, they don't go out at sunrise. They don't go out at UVA light. And they say, wait till it's midday, and they haven't been out all season. It's the first warm day of the year. They go outside, boom, you burn. Of course you're going to burn, right? You haven't given your body any signals to prepare for that more intense light. So the syncing your body to the day-night cycle and exposing your body to sunrise and then mid-morning sun and then midday sun, and doing that day after day is helpful. But then doing that throughout the seasons is also helpful, because you're telling your body, hey, prepare for the more intense sun of summer. Oh, now it's going away. We're going back into winter. There's supposed to be more darkness. We're healing and repairing. Oh, now prepare for that more intense sun of summer again. Like if you don't give your body those signals, it's going to be like freaking out when you go out into midday sun in the middle of the summer and you burn, right? So I am super pale, or I should be. I am, Irish heritage, and if I don't get sunlight, I'm very, very pale. But I never wear sunscreen. I go out and I set my circadian rhythm. I'm very in touch with the day-night cycle. I've been doing this for 3-4 years now, and I don't burn. I can be out there for a very long time, and even if I do get a little red, it doesn't peel. It doesn't it goes right into tan. And I can't say I'm like the most tan person. I just have genetically less melanin than some people, but I don't burn. And so that's how you have to kind of set this solar callus. And as you're doing that, and it does take consistency. So you have to be able to do it day in and day out for it to happen. But as you're doing that, be smart. Don't burn if you know you're going to burn. Like work up to that solar callus. Build yourself up to it, and then sunscreens are pretty toxic, and they also block UV light, which makes for imbalanced processed light coming from the sun now, because we're blocking one wavelength and letting others in. And so that's not ideal. So we would want to cover up with clothes, like light clothing or hats or things like that. Just be smart about it. But this is more of an opinion, just stating that from the get-go. But I don't think getting sunburn is what's causing skin cancer. I just don't, that doesn't make sense. It'd be like yes, it causes skin damage, but is that going to result in skin cancer? I don't think so, because we don't say that cutting our skin and causing damage to our skin that way is going to cause skin cancer. It doesn't make sense to me that it would. So I think the signal of cancer is happening because of imbalanced light signals, because of our artificial light environments and modern windows and using sunscreens. We're creating these imbalanced light signals when it comes to UV versus blue and all this kind of stuff. That's the real problem.
If you enjoyed that clip, you're going to want to head over here and catch the full episode. I'll see you over there.
How much serotonin you make when you get UVA light in mid-morning is going to dictate how much melatonin you can make later when you block blue light after sunset. So the storage of serotonin, that's going to be converted to melatonin later. So I tell people